Hello, this is Conan. Welcome to another episode of Planet Quest, where today we will be flying the Firebolt Mark I with Valentina Kerman. Now, Valentina Kerman is going to be flying today because of the stunt that Jebediah Kerman pulled last episode. As you remember, he was too anxious to get into space and launched before the countdown was completed. Valentina Kerman is far more, she's more, well, I guess the best word that we can use is, she's better at following instructions. She was always like that. Better in flight school, better in astronaut school, and better in being awesome school. Anyway, like I said, this is the Firebolt Mark I, and the goal today is to go into orbit. Now, she's having a little bit of trouble with that. The ship kind of wants to sway from side to side a little bit, and that's partly pilot error. Getting used to this. Uh-oh. And partly due to the way that this ship was constructed. It looks like maybe I need to be fired. Either that or don't talk and play at the same time. Oh no, we're going again. Oh dear. Apparently this is not as aerodynamically stable as it should be. Valentina, though, seems to continue to smile. We'll get you into space, or we'll get you back down to the surface safely. One of the two. One of the two will happen. Oh boy, keep that smile. That's the only thing that might save you from my poor piloting skills. Okay, it looks like we're getting there. What I could have done is taken this fuel and pumped it forward, which would have made it more top-heavy, and that would have made it more forward, stable. Here we go, getting ready to separate the boosters, and now we're on the main engine. Main engine is a swivel, of course, which gives us some vectoring authority, but as you just saw, not enough vectoring authority. Anyway, we're going into a polar orbit, and the reason is that Valentina's mission is to collect as much data as possible while in orbit around Kerbal, and that means hitting as many biomes as possible, because she's collecting some biome-specific science. Oh man, this is not safe, and we're starting to overheat. Oh boy. This can get very troublesome very quickly. Well, Valentina, I hope that you brought heat protection. Maybe a cooler with lots of ice. Alright. We have an apoapsis of over 144 kilometers. Hopefully the atmosphere won't slow her down too much, and she'll be able to actually reach space, and from there circularize. Just ditching the extra mass, throttling down, and let's engage the engine. Normally that wouldn't happen in real life. You would want to engage the engine after separation, right before you're ready to go, after firing some ullage motors. But right now we're not simulating gas flowing throughout the fuel tank, so we don't need to worry about that. Anyway, Valentina is officially in space, and she's over the Highlands, so she's going to do an EVA and gather some science. Think about how she's going to be a hero for all of Kermankind. She's the first Kerbal in orbit. Well, not yet, but soon. She's just waiting for those mountains to be below her. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. Let's see what the map says. The map says that it should happen. Maybe. We'll see. You know, it's only the third flight of this space program. It's not quite a science yet. They're still practicing, still learning. Anyway, she's going to get back into the capsule. Her oxygen and food and water won't last forever in that spacesuit, after all. It won't in that capsule either, but at least she has a longer chance of surviving. Anyway, ground control tells Valentina that it's probably a good idea to start planning a maneuver node. So that's what she's going to do in an effort to circularize her orbit. Now, this maneuver node is going to take up 500 meters of delta V, or meters per second of delta V, and she only has 495 meters per second of delta V. So she's going to have to do some clever maneuvering. Perhaps she can just, kind of scrape the atmosphere on the periapsis side. There we go. If she pulls off this maneuver, then she won't use all of her fuel, and she'll still be able to hit that atmosphere and come back down to the surface. So that's the plan. Anyway, let's time warp to that maneuver node and hope that everything goes to plan this time. Not like that ascent. She's getting ready to make the burn, lining everything up, still over the highlands, and here we go. Oh boy, this is scary. We don't want to use too much, but at the same time we want to be over the atmosphere, and that will hit it. That'll do it. So she will just barely graze over the atmosphere on the other side, with 4 kilometers to spare. Just 4 kilometers to spare. Anyway, let's just time warp until we're over another biome. Here we go. And she can gather that science. Anyway, I'm not going to have you watch her gathering all the science. So we'll just cut to either something fun happening or until she's done with gathering all this science. It did not take very long, but in fact, not even 3 minutes, and she's already collected data from all of the biomes except 3: the deserts, the mountains, and the badlands. We're going to be skipping the badlands today, so we're just concerned with 2 more, the desert and the mountains. And it looks like we're going to be able to capture that on this next pass, and then immediately afterward perform the final burn that will bring her back down. Oh no! Oh no, I miscalculated. She is not in space at all. She is in the atmosphere right now. She's actually 6 kilometers into the atmosphere. While the air is quite, shall we say, sparse in that high altitude, it's still there and it will still slow her down. This is a good thing, though, because it means it's that much less delta V that she needs to spend in order to get back to the surface. But we don't want to lose that much altitude on our apoapsis, or we're going to be stuck in the atmosphere and the mission will be over. So I'm watching that apoapsis very closely. This is a miscalculation on we'll call it Valentina's part. Yeah, it was Valentina's miscalculation, totally not mine. Well, that apoapsis is continuing to fall, and Valentina is continuing to smile. Though if I were in her predicament, I don't know that I would. So this means that she wasn't officially the first Kerbal in orbit, because her periapsis was still inside the atmosphere, which we're about to break here really soon. There we go, outside of the atmosphere. Now let's try to get over those deserts and those mountains. And it looks like it's going to happen. So those of you who may or may not understand, the reason that her trajectory is going over all these different biomes is because the planet rotates under her. She's not moving over the planet, at least not laterally. The planet is moving under her in a lateral direction. Anyway, she is over the deserts biome and is ready to gather that science. Yes, keep that data and store it. And now it's just about waiting until she gets over the mountains and she can gather that data and tell them how it looks from way above a mountain, because everybody at home is curious. There we go. Keep that data and store the experiments. Well, this has been quite the adventure with many, many problems. But luckily, Valentina has been surviving. Anyway, it's time to bring our intrepid crew back home. She only has 56 meters per second of delta V remaining, so she's going to perform this final burn right at the apoapsis to make the most out of the burn. So let's time warp until we get there. Here we are. And we don't want to slam, obviously, into the surface. We probably want to bring the periapsis down to about 30 kilometers. So we're not going to use all of it, obviously, but just enough, just kind of bringing it down little by little. There we go, 28 kilometers should be sufficient. And she still has plenty of electric charge and food and water and oxygen remaining. So as far as life support is concerned, she's doing just fine. And it's all about the ablative shielding doing its thing. Oh boy. Let's hope it works. That we don't have another problem here. And that the parachutes are going to deploy in the correct order. We definitely don't want parachutes tearing off of the capsule. There was an actual Russian cosmonaut who was able to land, I believe, safely without a parachute, or at least without the main parachute. Now, I looked up the story on Wikipedia before making this episode to make sure I had all my facts straight, etc., etc. And I should have written down his name, but I didn't. Well, it turns out that Wikipedia says he died on impact. And I believe that. That sounds right to me. But the story that I like to tell is that he survived, having shattered all of his teeth, because that's the story I was told, and that I heard, and I thought it was really cool. But Wikipedia would tell me that I am misinformed. Which is fine. That's totally fine. Anyway, we're just going to time warp through the atmosphere. Watch Valentina, I guess, laugh with joy as she plummets to a potential doom. We'll see how well this capsule was engineered. Something to note here is all of these flames are coming from the capsule. Many people will tell you that that is from the friction of the air, the friction from the air scraping against the capsule causing all that heat, which simply is not true. This is actually coming from the shock compression in front of the capsule. As the capsule is hitting the atmosphere, the air can't move around quickly enough, and so it gets compressed really quickly and thus heats up. And that's what's happening. You have to be very careful with your re-entries, because the atmosphere or the bubble right in front of your capsule, bubble I guess is a good word for it, that bit of air in front of the capsule can get hotter than the surface of the sun, or so I'm told. Well, anyway, Valentina seems to be surviving just fine. She can deploy both of her parachutes, and so now it's just a matter of getting down to the surface, which looks like it's going to be just fine. So I'll spare you the long, arduous fall, and unless something horrible happens, we'll just cut straight to our next mission. Valentina's mission was a total success. She landed safely on a fairly flat area of the mountains, which is quite nice, and gathered 57 science. No, she did not level up. That's okay. She didn't have to. Anyway, let's figure out what research we can unlock. I definitely want to be able to do more science. So, thinking about doing that. But I'm also thinking about unlocking this scriptable control system, which would be quite useful for making, automated flights. But now it looks like this ought to be what we do. We're going to try to send a scientist up above the Van Allen belts. No one's done this before in this space program, and so we want to make sure that a Kerbal can stay alive in all of that radiation. And of course, them being Kerbals, it's better to just, test on someone who's alive and costs lots and lots of money and, has parents who would be very sad if they died. So that's what we're going to do. Here we are with Bob Kerman in the Widowmaker Mark I. Now, Bob Kerman is not a pilot. He is a scientist, and one who would rather stay on the ground, but they need a scientist to collect data from the other side of the Van Allen belts, a completely untested and unknown region of space around the planet Kerbal. Now, when Bob was talking about his misgivings, he was comforted with one very wise phrase. "It's just a rocket. What's the worst that could happen?" That's when he discovered the name of the ship, the Widowmaker. Anyway, Bob Kerman has been equipped with an extra pair of diapers, and he is ready to go where no Kerman has gone before, beyond the Van Allen belts. So we are ready to launch now. And this completely untested hardware almost plummeted right back to the ground. It does not give Bob Kerman much courage, and it looks like it's falling over. He might be reaching his end. In a desperate attempt to gain authority, he is just losing equipment. Bob Kerman was wise enough to be able to hit all the emergency sequences and was able to land safely. He gets out feeling woozy and decides to plant a flag. Something that only the most intrepid of scientists would do, obviously. And the flag is, of course, a perfect testament to the experience of this mission. And he kicks it, of course, while getting back into his capsule. Oh, you just cannot make these things up, ladies and gentlemen. You just cannot make these things up. Anyway, he's going to be recovered by the ground crew, and we're going to try again.